Hey guys, it's Julian, and today I am going to be showing you how to make the deepest minimal house. As usual, you can get the full project file and samples and MIDI and presets, all of that from this video right in the top of the description. And if you're patient on my Patreon, check there because it's already available there. And yeah, here we go. So the first sound that we have here is this long chord, which sounds like this. So the way this is made is using this sort of like E-piano Rhodes sort of sound. This is playing a D minor 7, or actually a D minor 9 chord, excuse me. So you can see we just have a D minor chord. We have D, F, and A, just root note, minor 3rd, and then the 5th. And then we have this minor 7th on top, as well as a 9th, which is actually just one note down from the 3rd. If you look at that, the 3rd is F, and the 9th is E. So yeah, pretty simple there. It just kind of gives you a little bit of a deeper feel when you use like a 9th or a 7th chord like this, rather than just like a regular minor chord. So for the sound with this one, it's just the simpler patch, this electronic piano sound, and then I just have it going through a bit of chorus, which kind of spreads it out, you know, makes it a bit deeper, as well as a bit of drum buss, and then just the compressor side chaining it a little bit to the kick. And yeah, this just kind of sits in the background to give you that nice like long held out. And yeah, then the next sound that we have here is this first pluck, which sounds like this. So here's the MIDI for this one. You can see this one is actually just playing like these sort of D minor bass chords. So you can see like the first one here is just D, and then A, which is the 5th, and then another D, and then another A on top of that, and then a D up there for the second one, and then an F there. So then yeah, we're just getting this very like minor sounding thing, but it's really kind of playing off of the other chords, because if you listen to this, we have this one which sounds pretty dark and minor, but if you play it over that long chord, you can hear it doesn't actually sound that dark when you play it like with everything. So it's just kind of like how this is playing off of things in the mix, rather than just thinking about this element on its own. For the sound with this one, it's made with analog. This is a square wave and a saw wave. We get the saw wave an octave up and detuned a little bit. And then those are going into this bandpass filter, which is set like that. I've got an envelope on that as well as what's creating the pluck. And then I also have this LFO on there, just kind of slowly moving it, so it's just, you can hear like never in the exact same place twice. And we got the amp envelope set like that. Then I just have a bit of vibrato and some unison, which you can hear on the sound. And that's it. Then we just have a bit of chorus, as well as a bit of reverb. These are both just giving the sound some space, kind of spreading it out a bit. You can see I've shortened the reverb quite a bit. Then finally, we just have a bit of drum buss to beef this one up and really make it sound warm and full. And then finally, I just have a high pass filter cutting out the low end. And that's it for the pluck, or the first one. And then after that, we have the second pluck, which sounds like this. So you can hear this one just goes like that. What this one is doing is it's actually playing an F major 7 sort of chord here. So you can see what's happening is we have F and A, so the root note, and then the major 3rd, and then we have a major 7th, or a major 7th up here with this E. And if you look at this long chord, you'll notice that in the D minor chord, E is actually the 9th, but here is the major 7th. So it's still like the same notes that are going to work together, but you're getting this different juxtaposition of different sort of like feelings here with the different types of chords. And this is how I try to think of this. Is like if just every single one of these was just playing D minor, it would be kind of boring, you know, but having like one playing F major and one playing D minor 9 and one playing an actual just regular D minor, you know, this is how you make all of these things work really nicely together in the track. And yeah, so then with the sound on this one, you can see it's actually really simple. It's just 2 saw waves going into a low pass filter, and what makes this one is 2 things on the low pass here. 1, we have an envelope, and then 2, we have a really fast LFO. So on the first pluck, we had a slower LFO. So the idea of that one is that, you know, you hear the chords, and pretty much while one chord is playing, the filter stays in the same place, but then the next chord, the filter is in a different place. With this one, it's really fast, so the filter is just constantly gonna be moving like that. But then what's happening is we're still getting that pluck, so it's kind of like You know, it's like playing a nice groove where you're getting that. Like if I turn off the other plucks, you can really hear it. Just having that like that is kind of like. And that's the idea with this one too. Like if you look at this, it doesn't have really any reverb or delay or anything like that. This one doesn't need a whole lot of space because we're just using the synth and like a really basic, you know, way of creating interesting movement just inside of the synth. So it didn't need a whole lot of extra space, and this can fit a lot better into the mix this way versus if I put a whole bunch of delay and reverb on this one, you know, it might actually start to clash with the pluck, with the first pluck and that long chord. And yeah, and then that one's just going through a bit of chorus as well, and then a bit of drum bus to beef it up, and then that's it for the second pluck. And then we have the kick, which sounds like this. So this one is more just about like the type of kick we're choosing, you know, just like this big, fat, deep, very 909-esque kick, but kind of like a 909 kick with like something extra to it to make it even fatter and more full. And this is just one that I've layered together. This is how I got this one to be so big like this. But yeah, and then we just have a bit of drum bus on this just to kind of make it a bit fatter. You can hear that. And then yeah, that's it for the kick. Then we have the bass. So you can hear this is a super simple bass line. It's mostly just focused around D, and it's really straightforward D minor sort of stuff. Like we have D, the root note, F, the minor third, G, the fourth, A, the fifth, and yeah, it's like not really taking it too far out of that scale at all. But just writing something that's going to work well with all these different chords, while still kind of like holding down the root note. You know, I try to think about it like just really focusing on the, like making sure that most of the notes here are the root note. And then just that it grooves nicely with the kick. So for the sound with this one, this is made using FM synthesis, and the technique here is using 2 sine waves, and then the second one, which is doing the frequency modulation on the first one, is an octave down from the first one. And what this allows you to get is, in my opinion, the biggest sort of like sine wave sound, because what's happening here is if we put these in the same octave, see how it's not really that deep, like it's just not really like nice in the low end. So if we just put the whole thing down an octave, then it's like you can kind of hear the low end of that just isn't quite as full. But then for some reason, if you turn down the second oscillator, so the one that is doing the frequency modulation, if you put that down an octave, but keep your main oscillator at the regular octave, there we go, we get the best of both worlds. We're getting that nice sound in the mid-range and the low mid-range that we were getting when they were in that higher octave, but it's just a lot deeper. So that's a technique there. And then the other thing here is like the envelopes. You can see they're pretty short and plucky. You know, this is meant to be like a quick little kind of pluck bass. Then that's just going through a bit of drum bus to make it a lot fatter and more full. You can really hear that happening. Then we have this EQ just to cut out a little bit of space for the kick. And then finally, I have a compressor side chaining this to the kick to just make it kind of fit into the groove with that a little bit better and make the low end feel a little bit cleaner. And yeah, and then on the bus, I just have a bit of saturation. Here's without it. And then with it, you can hear just ties it all together. And yeah, then we have the percussion. So this can kind of be broken down into different levels of percussion. So I'll start here just with like this main clap. You can hear it's just this nice fat clap sample. The thing I think to keep in mind with this is not even so much like all the processing. Like the processing is pretty simple. It's just some drum bus and EQ to kind of bring out the highs a little. But it's really just about the sound. You know, you just want this quick, really hard-hitting, punchy clap like this. Nothing that's too long, nothing that's going to take up too much space. It's just a quick on the 2 and 4. And yeah, that's the idea with that one. Then we have the hi-hats. So I'll put these all together. So there's two main things happening. We have these ones, and then these two, which are playing at the same time. So for this first one, what these are actually these vinyl hi-hats. These were sampled from a vinyl drum break. And you can hear they have this very cool sort of like live feeling to them. And yeah, it's just a more interesting way of creating hi-hats for the style. You know, you could just have like an 808 hi-hat or a 909 hi-hat, but by taking these, you're bringing in a lot of texture, and these just have like a really nice kind of like warm feel to them that you just can't get any other way. And the key with these is you can see I've got them going chicka chicka. Even though they're like really similar sounds, it's two slightly different ones. So you're getting that chicka chicka rather than just and then I played with the velocities as well, so that it's kind of like getting bigger in the middle and then going down like that. And yeah, and then I just have those, I also pitched those up a little bit, and then I just have going through a bit of reverb, as well as a bit of a high pass filter. And then I have this utility actually converting into mono. Even though we have reverb, the reverb is really just kind of creating atmosphere and making it feel more like a loop. But that's just to make sure, because there's like some weird stuff. Sometimes when you sample from breaks like this, you can hear like, if I turn this off, the left ear feels kind of heavy. So we just turn that on and there we go. And then for the other hi-hats we have, so it's just these two layers. We have a 909 hi-hat, which you can see. So here's the original sample on that one. It's like this longer 909, and then I just shortened it to make it like that tight hi-hat like you hear in the style. This is very commonly done. And I put that through a bit of saturation. And then we have the shaker, which I just have in there. You can hear that's just adding some nice mid-range, so it kind of like fills it out a bit. And I'll show you, here's the hi-hat without the shaker. And then with it, so you can hear that just gives it the extra punch. And yeah, and then the last group of percussion here would be like all these little just sort of background percussions, which sound like this. Which you can hear, these are all, I've got 4 layers of these, and these are all just playing like in the background. If I play these with the shaker, you can really hear. So that's how they fit into the beat. These are just a bunch of different little percussion sounds like this that are playing on the 16th notes here and just adding a lot of groove to the track. You know, it's like, this is how the style works, is you have maybe like 3 or 4 or even 5. I mean, it could really be as many as you want, as long as they all fit together and the track doesn't feel too crowded, but the groove feels really together. You know, it can be as many as you want, but it's just having these little things in the background that are like just constantly moving around and playing all different notes. And in almost like a seemingly random fashion, but the random, it's not actually that random. Like if you look at these, they're actually pretty much just like really repetitive loops. Like this one happens just in that one spot every 2 bars. This one happens in that one spot every bar. This one is pretty predictable. This last one is really predictable. But then what happens is once you start hearing all these different layers doing this at once, then it starts to feel kind of random, and not in a bad way. That's what creates a lot of depth and interestingness in your track, because you have these things that aren't just like, you know, you can't just, you never know what's going to come next, you know, it's all these different little percussions. And the other thing too is like the levels at which they're mixed. Like if you listen, like certain things are louder than others. Like the bongo is kind of quiet in the mix, but then that snare is really loud. So just kind of thinking about it like that as well. And yeah, you can see on those, like, there's really not any processing, because there's the group processing that I'm about to show you. But yeah, really important to just have those little background percussion layers. And then on the group of percussion, just got a little bit of drum bass, so here's without it. And then with it, you can hear it's just that last little thing. To tie it all together, it really makes everything fat and even in the mix and really full sounding. And yeah, so that is it for this project, and that is going to be it for this video, guys. So, as always, I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to like this video as well as subscribe, and let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Like I said in the beginning, you can get the full project files, samples, MIDI, presets, all of that from this video is available right at the top of the description on my Bandcamp. This is a great way to support me if you guys have been enjoying these videos. You can also find me on my Patreon if you're a patron there. And yeah, thank you so much, everybody, and I will see you tomorrow with another video.